everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker Training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTraining.tv, where every day at this time slot, 1 p.m. Pacific time, or 3 p.m. if you're at DevCon time or Engage time, depends on who you ask. We will be covering the FileMaker platform, covering different topics, helping all of you hopefully learn a little bit and to become better developers. The FileMaker platform is really an awesome place to be and to work. It allows us great capabilities. It does a tremendous amount. And what's great about it is that while I come to these shows, or Nick or someone comes to these shows, we're teaching, but we're also learning. We're showing you what we've seen or what we've learned. At the same time, some of you come to us and say, hey, you're wrong. You can do it better this way. We're like, wow, really? So it's a community exercise. This is really kind of a community live stream. You can watch a live stream on YouTube, Twitch, or Discord. Most people do it through Discord. It gives you more capabilities. So today's conversation, in fact, hopefully it's all here. Margaret, are you there? We good?
I'm
We're
here.
still going?
I'm here.
Okay, good. I'm just like, oh, there we go. I was doing all this blind without seeing anything. So I
Oh,
just going
okay.
from rote memory. I couldn't see anything. So I found the Zoom screen. Oh, hi. Hello, Internet. Welcome. All right. So I'm in the our Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth office. So here's the upcoming broadcast schedule. So this is going to be radically altered and changed because we have to kind of call an audible. So a couple things going on. One, we got engaged next week. And so basically the show is going to be a combination for at least the next couple weeks. Oh, hang on one second here. Well, hello, Rich Carlton. Margaret, keep going for a second.
Uh, so basically, we have Engage next week. Because we have Engage next week, that means that we are going to have, I think, 2 days pretty much guaranteed where we're going to be doing Engage stuff, which are the two convenient empty spots in my schedule, the place where Tuesday magically goes to Friday. Nick will not be on stream for a while because Nick, one of Nick's customers, needs him to do a lot of stuff suddenly, and that has taken up his time and attention. And the live stream is very fun, and Nick will certainly miss you all, but customers are more important. So since his customers need more of his time and attention than they did previously, he'll be stepping off the stream for a bit. I'm sure he'll be back at some point eventually.
I would
But
imagine 2 or 3 weeks. So for those of you wondering what's going on, so it's total mayhem here. So like I said, next week is engaged. Today and tomorrow me. Next week I'll engage, and then over say next 2, 3, 4 weeks we'll try to get Nick back on the schedule. But we're going to continue, Margaret. So I go, what should we talk about? And Margaret was very insistent. Did you mention this, Margaret? Very insistent on continuing the conversation about the functions. Margaret has been learning a lot about the FileMaker platform, and as a result of that, she gets kind of pushy and bossy. I have no idea where she got that from. Telling me what she really wants on the training. And I was like, I kept thinking like, well, maybe I should leave functions alone. She says, no, I need this. I want this. There's a lot of intermediate developers who need these things. In fact, something occurred, and we'll start this momentarily, but it was a revelation as an instructor. How many times has Margaret heard about PSOS? This is a really great example, and I'm not picking on Margaret in any way. It's
I've
not
probably been hearing about it since it was first added to the platform.
for
So,
years. Okay. So then
yes.
Margaret actually has to roll it out the other day, and actually doing the work versus hearing it, but actually doing it caused her to realize that she didn't really understand it. And I'm not going to dive into perform script on the server too much today, but the issue was that she very much was stuck and didn't really understand that when we tell the server this, when I tell you the server is pretending to be a client without really a screen, there's nowhere to see what it's doing, but it's really kind of a copy of FileMaker Pro that's running on the server. People think I'm just being metaphorical or some right? I'm being true. I'm absolutely true. All you're missing is a little dialogue that pops says, welcome to FileMaker, and a little about screen, and you don't see the windows flashing and stuff, but everything else is there. And so Margaret thought it was metaphorical or whatever, or it hadn't fully processed. So what happens when a user opens, takes a copy of FileMaker Pro or Go, and they open a file? What's the first thing that happens? It runs the startup script. And she's like, so it really is a real client. I'm like, yeah, right. So anyway, so it's one of these things that as an instructor, what I realize is that I teach, I make diagrams, I have explosions, I wave my hands, I try to keep it entertaining, but sometimes you're not going to learn it until you do it. And this is kind of a known thing. The best training you could ever do, and we're thinking about how to maybe incorporate this a little better with the live stream, but here's what you should go build it, then let's kind of review it, right? Let's review what you did. And if you take the time between the live streams to do a little bit of work, 5 or 10 minutes of learning, that will make the live streams much better for you. So anyway, so that came to me. So today's conversations kind of follow up on that, and that is talking about saving data. And all of you are going, oh, I'm already know about saving data. I'm an expert. Yes, there are 12 of you here that are super triple ninjas, okay? But the rest of you think you know saving, and you mostly know saving, but probably I will teach you something new today, which is what we're going to do. So, Margaret, we're going to transfer command to me briefly, but be prepared to take over, right? Okay, great. So real quick, so let's talk about this real quick. So saving data at the beginner level. So, and I'm going to get to everyone where everyone's most of the people here are intermediate developers, various levels of intermediate. Some of you are legit ninjas. I'm not being mean or talking down to you, but I have to kind of keep this generic for everyone. So at the beginning level, FileMaker automatically saves the data. And as a brand new developer, this is awesome. So if you kind of really just tinker with FileMaker randomly, your main day job is flying fighter jets for the Air Force or something, which is a true thing. I know at least one person who does that. They fly fighter jets or Navy, I can't remember, and they do FileMaker on the side. That's not uncommon, okay? That being said, if it's a part-time job, you may not be super deep into it. Maybe you expect that FileMaker, you understand that FileMaker saves the data automatically. Therefore, you don't have to worry about it. So if you don't have to worry about it, you put it in your hand and you throw it in the trash can. It's a thought and a concern that you toss into that whenever I'm doing this, I'm rolling up the trash and throwing it into the trash can. And so you don't have to worry about it. It takes care of it automatically. It's awesome. That's why FileMaker is so great, because it's not a SQL system. It's not that level of complexity. Some of you come from SQL, and some of that I'll try to help with that transition of knowledge, but FileMaker gives you a lot of capability without going that deep into coding. So at a beginner basic level, whenever you're in browse mode, you do data entry activities, the data is saved. What does that mean? That means that the data, whatever data is edited or put in or in the file, is saved to wherever the FMP12 file is at. So we talk about that down here somewhere, the FMP12 file, wherever the FMP12 file is. For the sake of the conversation today and for the value of this conversation, we're going to say that the FMP12 file is on a server, FileMaker server or the Claris cloud server or whatever. Makes sense? And so the issue with that is that that's where the data is saved. So if we're saving data to wherever the FMP12 file is at, and that file happens to be on your computer, saving it on the computer, you're probably not going to have really any issues with that. It'll be nice and fast. But if you start pushing data to an FMP12 file that's on a server across town or across the internet, like right now I'm in Texas, but I'm accessing servers that are either in California or probably on the East Coast of the United States, and that distance. It's not the distance in miles, is the distance in milliseconds of latency. Latency is slowdown. So if I say milliseconds of slowdown, right? Because remember, this stuff theoretically operates at the speed of light. It's a Millennium Falcon. Go to Chewie, hit the hyperdrive. That fast, okay? Okay, except that it hits these routers along the way, Margaret. And every time it hits a router, it's like the Millennium Falcon go, and it comes to a stop, and it has to wait for like 3 or 4 or 5 milliseconds, like a stoplight, and then go ding, it's green again. So imagine the Millennium Falcon that where they do that. The one movie they were hyper jumping, and then they'd stop and jump and stop and jump and stop or jump. It was like crazy. That was like the Solo movie or whatever they were doing with that. Yeah, so the FMP12 file is basically the Millennium Falcon jumping and stopping and jumping. And so you get these milliseconds of delay, right? And the more stoplights you hit with the data, the farther away from it you are. Right, Mario, does this make sense to you? You're kind of intermediate developer. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you had one great jump at the speed of light, it would be instantaneous, right? But we don't have that. So the issue is, where's the data go? So that's automatic. When you're in layout mode, you make a change in FileMaker, you go back to browse mode, it tells you it's going to save it automatically. I always turn it on and make it automatic. I have one engineer, a lot of you know him, Christian Olson, who does the Wolfpack stuff, really great developer, very talented. He always likes to have it ask him. And I never quite understood that, because the answer is save it or unwind everything I just did and dump it. And for me, I save it, then I go to browse mode. So the whole idea is that you go to browse mode, you test it, you come back to layout mode, you hit undo. So you undo the issues, right? So I'm not clear on that. So that's for beginners. That's as far as they go. Now, what happens for most of you here, this is where the conversation gets interesting, is that you've been using FileMaker. Some of you, it says 1 to 3 years here, but some of you they kind of get the intermediate developer, and you might have been here for 20 years. I know people. I got a couple engineers like that. The customers they work for don't have super high demands. They're like intermediate developers, and that's what they do. Right? Christian's not like that. Christian's like triple super ninja dude, right? Throwing stars and all that kung fu stuff. So, but they get to this spot, and you're an intermediate developer when You've been doing it for a while. You kind of understand how to structure things, how to make it work. Maybe it doesn't work the first time, but what you start to do is you build a solution and it starts to go slower. Okay, so that's a clue. Either its complexity goes up. So if I'm going to pick on Larry, is Larry the Marine here at all? Mario is our Marine here in building?
He is.
Okay, Larry the Marine. So I'm going to use him as an example. I'm not picking on him in any way. So Larry, building a solution, builds his baseball solution for minor league baseball. Larry is definitely what I would consider an intermediate level FileMaker developer, and so very talented, and he builds a solution that probably periodically could run into performance issues. And for Larry to think about this is like, how do I solve these performance issues? Performance issues come up two things. You're doing technical stuff like a lot of summaries and reports, or you have a lot of people hitting the file at the same time, or you have both. So what prompts people to go from intermediate developer to senior developer is when they really dive into this full time and they learn how to optimize a solution. The whole issue with optimizing the solution is management of the traffic between the client and the server. So I'm going to close this out for the moment. I'm going to bring over here to my graph. So here is our graphical. We've seen all this graphic before. So this is your could be Go, could be Pro. It doesn't have to be in the office. The whole point is as the data transacts from here and it goes whizzing up here and it goes back and forth to the server, you could ignore Claris Studio and Claris Connect for now. So the data, a little block of data whizzes back and forth between the user and between the server. And the more data that moves back and forth, potentially the slower it's going to go. And so the issue is but that's the data being saved. So when the data is moving back and forth, when you look at performance tuning, we have a bunch of videos on performance tuning. I was going to bring these up, or some of them there's a whole bunch of in our paid training on performance tuning. A chunk of this, and we've not talked about this before, is using transactions to improve performance. Does that make sense? So using transactions to speed performance. And the idea with performance tuning is normally, as an intermediate developer, you want to control when the data flies back and forth from the client to the server. It just doesn't do it behind your back. A lot of times when our performance training, we talk about like on a summary field, if you define a summary field in a FileMaker solution, right? You have a solution over here, days goes back and forth. But if I define a summary field on this, especially like if you have an invoice or a financial and you put a total at the bottom of summary field, that summary field, every time it's displayed, it starts spinning. We call it the churn. In the video, you see in our videos, our paid training, you see a washing machine churning the clothes, going back and forth. It's oscillating, it's agitating, it's churning the water. Okay. And so that's the idea. And so the summary fields will operate kind of behind your back, chatting with the server. Okay. You go to the layout. You don't need to see the summary field. It's on there. Doesn't matter. That's going to start chatting behind your back because it's going to automatically display it for you really fast. Except that sometimes it's not really fast. Sometimes it's really slow, and that's an issue. So as you become a developer trying to control the chattiness on the network, where it's totaling things up like in a summary, is one thing. The other part is data saving. Can be chatty on the network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can open. Let me see if I got in the trash here. What do we have? It doesn't particularly matter. So if you say create a new file and you go to FileMaker and give me an asset, let's try that one. It's kind of basic. Assets to the desktop, great. So create a new record. There we go. We have a record here. So we come in here and I do data entry. Okay. Mm-hmm. If I tab, I'm editing the next item. Now let's say that this file has been saved to the server. It's running locally here, but let's just say it's saved to the server. The performance would work just like this. Okay. That's the cool part about a local file server. It almost works perfectly. Okay. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. So as I tab over here, I'm still editing the record. The record's not been released and saved. So this data and this data, even though I'm not on those fields anymore, has not been saved to the server. When you click out, or you run a script that says commit, or you change a layout or change a record, FileMaker rolls up all the edits you've made, bundles them together, and shoots it off to the FileMaker server. Okay. It actually shoots off the entire record. So if you have 500 fields in here, it's going to send all 500 fields minus any container fields. So if you have 500 fields in here, I got a database. I use one table in the database. I've got 500 fields. Ding. when you change one little bit of data in the 500 fields, it takes all those fields and it rolls them up. It doesn't need all of them. Hey, they didn't ask you. They didn't ask me. It's the way this works, right? They roll it up off to the server and saved. Okay. I know Margaret's listening because she's learning this. This is right where she's at in her skill set. It's really awesome to have the video production person at this spot in their training. Questions? No? No questions?
No, just Code to Go mentioning that they sometimes manually save layout changes because sometimes they only want to look at something, but the object moves when they double click, and it's easier just to cancel the changes rather than having to undo multiple actions.
That's true. That's fine. That's fine. It's once again, if you're a professional developer, you have a reason for that. I just tell the brand new people to always have it safe. So once again, if you know enough to argue with me, then yeah. So
Kathy, interesting question. I use FMP for my own enjoyment and adventure. Is this necessary to know for my own application?
no. No, Kathy. I want to encourage you in your adventure of happiness and awesomeness. And I mean that absolutely serious. I'm not being flip at all. I like this job. Okay. I like working in FileMaker. I like helping people. But what invariably happens at my level is that someone says, well, it's really great, Richard, but we have this problem where it goes slow. And then I get hired, then I have to know this stuff. So that's kind of where you get sucked into this. So either someone hires you, Kathy, to help with this, and you have this performance issue, or you have this slowness issue. We have 30 or 40 people, and the problem is like you'll be like if I click in, and I type, and I click and type. This is pretty instantaneous, right? But what if you click? It's a date field down there. What if you click and there's a noticeable delay? What I call a pregnant pause in TV. It's like where everyone kind of waits for someone to say something. It's like a pause, right? It's a weird pause. It's like not normal. And so that's where performance becomes an issue. So you don't really have to know this, but I think it's useful because what ends up happening is that saving. So yeah, at a very beginner level, you don't have to worry about it. But in data systems, especially if you have a server, if it's just you and your server and it's great, then I have a lot of solutions like that for myself. But once again, this is the issue that you're going to run into as you want to share it with people, or you have complexity, is that you're going to have a slowdown and you need to have techniques to deal with that. This video is a big part of learning the techniques to deal with performance. So I'm going to keep motoring, Margaret, if we have questions. Kathy may just decide to tune out because I'm boring her now, but so hopefully I'm keep it exciting. So the idea is that if you're in the record and you're editing, edit, clicking out commits. It's the same as in a script step. If you do set fields in a script step, set field in a script step, set field in a script step, as you set, none of those have been saved to the server. Okay. When you move the record ahead, like if I make a big edit here, and then I add a new record, well, the other record, it left that record in FileMaker. The client goes, hey, we're leaving the record, pops it, sends it sends the whole thing off to the server. And so once again, if you have 500 fields or 400 fields or however many fields you have, all those are going to get sent to the server. So people start talking about, well, we're going to narrow the tables, right? As you design a database, you're not going to want to put too many fields in one table. Okay. Back in the old days with FileMaker 2, it was really hard connecting things together. So we put a lot of fields into the system, right? But yeah, as you start to understand, especially Ruben and David Angel and Code to Go, and a bunch of you folks have like this partial SQL background or SQL or maybe non-SQL background, they start to understand some of this stuff, right? In terms of the way this thing commits and saves. So a save and the word commit and save are basically synonymous in a lot of ways. So the issue is that normally the way FileMaker behaves normally is that if you stay within the field, like if I edit here, then I click out, well, I just saved it. Okay, so then as I edit here, this has already been saved, right? But if I tab using to jump between, it's rolling up all the changes, then it's in the server. Now, there is a set of we did a really kick-ass job. We were watching these videos momentarily a little bit ago, and these are the videos that are part of the paid training. Once again, we highly recommend you purchase and watch our paid training videos. If you go to the FileMaker 20, it might be called 19 in yours, but it's basically the current version of FileMaker. You go to the training, is videos 1081 through about 1088, and it talks about script transactions. So what a transaction is it allows us to do edits here within a script, stay in a script, add a new record, add some more data, edit another record, and all this stuff has not been saved. Normally, as I jump records or I jump layouts, right? They open up for you? Good, awesome. So as they open up, okay, that two conversations. Open up the wiring closet is nothing to do with this. So as we edit through here and you jump through layouts, you jump through records, it forces the commit back to the server, okay? But what if you could pause all the edits, all the saves to one point at the end? And so when we shot these videos, I didn't really talk about them from the performance idea, from the performance standpoint, right? The idea is that you look at the record, you look at all the data that's coming in, you start a transaction, open transaction, a top script step. In fact, we can just go ahead and do this. Actually, it
I
might be
have
better
a
to pop.
speedy question before you wander
Okay, go
off.
ahead and do that, Margaret. Yeah, go with the speedy question.
Is set field, multiple set fields in a row like tabbing or like clicking into a different field?
Multiple set fields in a row is the same as typing and tabbing and typing and tabbing. It's mechanically identically the same.
Yeah,
But
because
one user,
clicking into a field will save it, right? But tabbing multiple
no,
times
no,
in a
clicking
row.
into the field, clicking in the field and typing will initiate the lock. Okay?
Yes. No, but if you click into another field, it's still in the
Okay,
same.
if you manage to click cleanly into the field,
Yes.
then you still have the lock and you're still editing and nothing has been rolled up. So the idea of this record
Oh,
lock,
okay.
record locking and saving are two sides of the same coin. Record locking is when you're going to edit a record. It's like there's 100 people on the system at one time, 500 people in the database at one time. Okay. And you're all editing Richard Carlton because you all hate me and changing my name and doing bad things to me. Okay. Only one, everyone, all 500 people can view my record at one time. Only one person can make edits to it. So the first person clicks in the field, that doesn't start the edit, that doesn't start the lock. The first person who types into a field or scripts it, script goes in there and puts data into there. It initiates a request from the server to lock the record. The server says, yes, no one else needs it. No one else is editing it. So we're going to give you the lock. Other people can still read it, but you're the one doing the edits. As you make the edits, no one can see those edits because you haven't saved them to the server. You have the lock, which means you're protected. That record's protected. No one else can touch it. Your editing changes. When you're done, you will save, the data will be saved to the server and the lock will be released, right? So it's a record level lock, right? They're called record locking, right? It's a thing generally in SQL you have to manage manually, and FileMaker is handled kind of automatically, right? It's pretty great.
Yeah, no,
And
I was just confused because I was curious if the clicking cleanly into another field acted the same as tab, or if does that make
yes,
sense?
clicking cleanly into a field is the same as tabbing to the field, right? If you, but
Yeah,
so
which is
if
the
I'm
same
here and
as
I'm
multiple
editing
set fields.
and I clicked cleanly into there,
Yeah,
not, it wasn't saved yet. But if I miss, then it saved it. And then if I
got it.
click in again, it's going to request the lock and do that.
Request the lock again. Okay, and
Now
then
here's the other
multiple
part.
set fields acts like tabs. Got it.
Yes, if everyone is looking at my record, right, at the same time,
Yes.
and I make a bunch of edits to it, no one will see those until I save it. It goes to the server. It's saved to the FMP12 file on the server, right? Makes sense. And then everyone, the server also keeps track of who's looking at that data. And it goes, oh, these 20 people or 100 people or whatever people are looking at the data. Let me push out an update to them. So by you saving the data is one thing, okay? And then you're initiating a push of the data out to everyone, right? So as an example, so you pushed it, so you could push data to 20 people. So you did one little thing, but you resulted in this like a little wave, and then it turns into a tsunami. Margaret pronounced it Toomsy, not a Toomsy, it's a tsunami. Thank you. That turns into data downstream. So think about this. So in FileMaker 6, the engineers in FileMaker 6, they made this engine called Draco from 6 to 7. So 6 had some issues. Every time that you would do something as a set field in FileMaker 6, and you would do another set field between those, there was an invisible commit that FileMaker 6. So 6 and previous, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Every time you do a set field, it would do a commit. So you just writing 10 data points on 10 fields, think would be 10 lock and save, lock and save, lock and save, lock and save. The performance on the server was hideous. And so they re-engineered it so you could roll this all up at one time, right? Makes sense. So you have a bunch of edits to a record. Now the transaction, if I go to script workspace here,
We have
I'm
more
going to
questions.
just, we have more. Let me just get to this. Add a record. Okay, here's where it's going to go to a record. It's going to do some stuff right here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say open transaction, if I can do that. There it is. And then there's a commit transaction. So what this allows you to do, if you use these, is that normally if you stay within a record, you do it all at one time. It kind of is efficient that way. But what if you went to go to next record, next record, go to record next, right? Go to record next. And you did some more stuff, right? Down here, right? So say you put that in there, put that in there. So now normally it would be lock, save, lock, save. Now in the old days of FileMaker 6, it would have been lock, save, lock, save, lock, save, lock, save, lock, save. So going to FileMaker 7 was a huge improvement, okay? But with this, it does lock, save down here, one push. And remember that every time it saves back, it's not saving the one bit of data you change, it's saving all the data in all the fields for that record.
Repeat
Margaret?
that.
Okay, I'm watching. I watched your reaction. This is why I really wish I could see Kathy and Larry and everyone here, except for anyone going to the bathroom. I would like to see your faces here because I as an instructor, I look at to see your reaction. I could tell Margaret didn't get it. That's why I stopped. Okay, so if I have, let me open up. Can I open up? Let me just do something here real quick. Let me go to DBW02. Will let me in? Okay, so here's Carson Secure Transport. No, yes. So this is when I do flight training. This is a database with not super triple secret data in it, I don't think. Let it open up. This server is in California. So this is some old data here. Let me go to instructors. So Richard is here. Okay, this is okay, perfect. This is a bogus non-real record. Okay.
Cool.
So I just got lucky with that. Like, we don't have to tell the video editors to cut that out. So see here, there's a field here and 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 a field, not containers. If I make one change right here to this, so I clicked in here, do I have the lock? No. If I type a letter or edit, I type H. I'm going to press the letter H. Hang on. Here's the H down here. I'm going to press it on my keyboard. When I press H, up here, before it comes up here, it's going to go to this server and says, hey, is this record available? And the server in California is going to go yes or no. If it's available, it's going to say, yes, FileMaker Pro that's in front of Richard. You can let the cursor, you can put the H in there. It's allowed. So literally, as I do this, it's going to shoot at the speed of light minus the Millennium Falcon with the stop signs, right? Stop lights. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to press it, see if there's a delay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it was like a tenth of a second. It was not quite instantaneous, okay? That was it going all the way from Dallas, Texas to California. No one else is using it. And then coming back saying, yes, Rich, you could put it in there. Now, if I just make that one edit right here and I click out to save or I flip to another record, okay, what's going to happen? It's going to save. Cool. It's going to send a text back. You can't see it. It's going to send Fred this. It's going to send this and this and this and this. Not that. That's a container. This and this and this and this. No related data unless we edited it, right? Okay.
Oh, so it doesn't send stuff in portals?
Because those are records of related data unless you edit it in there. If you were in here and you do an edit, my Zoom is jumping in. But if I'm down here and you do an edit in there, if I'm on this record and I edit a related record, right? Then it's going to roll up that related record and the parent record. So roll up the child. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah,
so it's going to, but it sends all of it. Well, what if you only change? I spelled McKinsey wrong. It's got 2 E's. Okay, then I click out. It's going to send. In fact, there was a longer delay there. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. Yeah.
You saw that. It sent this. It sent all the data back minus the containers. Okay,
got it.
That's the way it works. So if you actually went set field, set commit, you're not just sending one bit of data, you're sending change one bit of data, shoot off 500 fields back, change one bit, shoot off. So that's why it's more efficient to try to roll up and save them at the end. Once again, Kathy, if your solution is fast and no one complains, don't worry about this. Make sense? Okay, go with question. Well, this is the tower. Go with questions.
Yes. Okay. So I am going to start with NJ first, and then I'll go to you, David, because NJ was related to the tab thing, and that is an older comment. NJ, what you have other elements that are not fields on your table order that are generally in your tab order. So you tab to a non-field object. Does that send the record to the
Yeah,
server?
I think it's a lock. You could test it easy enough, right? You could tab to the tab to a button, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buttons can be put. Okay, Margaret doesn't know this. Buttons can be put in tab orders, Margaret. You could tab to a button and then hit the return key, and it'll execute the button. It's kind
Oh,
of this.
okay. I know that it can be
But
put in tab orders. He used to have me reorder tab orders when I was very
and I'd always
specific.
remove buttons out of there, but some people want to do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
FileMaker, different strokes for different folks, kind of thing. It's good. It does all sorts of stuff. Stuff that you shouldn't do, or I don't think you should do, but whatever, it's cool. It'll allow you to drink and drive if you want. It's wide open. So yeah, so as soon as you exit a field, active field, editing an active field, and you jump on an object, I think you're pretty much going to lock. It'll initiate the lock. I could re-verify that, but I'm pretty sure that's. I've got
So
$100. I'll put
it
bet on that.
initiates the lock. Will it initiate the commit as well?
I'm sorry, it was already locked. It'll initiate the commit, which then, once it commits, it unlocks it. Right. The lock
Okay.
just prevents anyone else from trying to edit it at the same time. What you don't want, the whole point with locking is you don't want two people editing the same record at the same time. Make sense?
Okay. So
Because then you don't know who to trust. Which
okay.
data do we keep? So FileMaker never has to sync data together, right? And decide who's more important because it doesn't allow two people to enter the same stuff at the same time. It's actually really smart like that.
Yes. Okay. Then I'm going to do David. David has 3 questions in a row, which I'm going to and then
David Angel?
Yes, and then I will
Is
do
he
the other.
behaving himself or is he being a party clown?
No, he is. He's been behaving himself.
Because I kind of like the party clown sometimes as long as it's safe for work, David.
Oh no, this is an either or question. Okay.
Okay.
What technique is better to avoid locking records and improving performance? To create global fields and set fields when a user presses a button, or to use pause/resume with an open/commit transaction technique?
Pause or resume with the open/commit is not a recommended technique, although some people use it in a hackery sort of way. I would use globals for that, without a doubt. Because you don't have a gun to your head, right? Because yeah, I mean when you start a transaction, you start locking records up. Those are locked for everyone. Okay. If you're clicking into fields, he's talking about the idea of opening a transaction, right, Margaret? If I go back over here, so between here, every record that I touch in here is get locked up. So you could normally you lock one record at a time, or if you're on like a CRM, like contact, and you have notes in the contact. If you're editing a note for a contact through that record, you would lock the parent, and then you'd lock that child, right?
Oh, so then if you do multiple of those, you're like locking a small.
You can start locking multiple things, but normally a lock is one record at a time for our conversation. This right here is a blank check to lock the whole damn file. You could actually have a loop in here, right? Right? And you could actually edit every record, which would result in you locking the whole thing until you got to right there. Now, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying that's that kind of here we go. There's this with great power comes great responsibility, right? Literally. That answered David's question. But I would always. So here's the thing: you're locking stuff up with this. I would globals. So he's talking about just doing a bunch of because as you edit a global field, that does not initiate the lock.
I was about to ask. So global fields are off limits for locking? Because
okay, yeah. Generally, I've got a bug with
local?
Claris on container globals, and you and I are aware of that. But generally, as you type data, if you could start typing data into globals, the globals are local to you. They're not saved to the server.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no lock and there's no save. They're just local in memory. In fact, they're not even saved to the drive FMP12 file unless you happen to be running a local file, and then the globals are saved locally. But whatever, it's kind of yeah. I try not to confuse people with running local files. But yeah, so I would definitely put a bunch of globals, define globals, do a bunch of editing in there, take your time. There's no rush. Because the problem is once you start doing this and locking stuff up, then it's like you're at a bank and someone's robbing the bank and everyone's got their hands in the air. The longer the bank robber's in there with his gun, the sooner the cops are going to show up, right? if this is the beginning of the bank robbery here, this is when the bank robber runs out of the building. I'm being serious, right? So he or she is running around and holding, give me your wallet, give me your gun, give me your whatever, or give me your gun, give me your knife, give me your money, give me your gun, give me your gun. And so the problem is the more demands they make, the more that goes sideways inside the bank. The cops are so when the cops show up is basically when someone complains to you that they can't use the database. Your phone rings. They're telling you that the record's locked. Okay, that's the cops showing up, right? So you want to do it and get out of the way. If you do global fields, that's like setting up your own bank, a practice bank, and you can rob that thing all day and no one gives a shit. And then once you save it, then it just you can. But to begin to save it, you would run you'd start a transaction or whatever, but it would be real quick because the script step, because you go from global to global. The idea is that with what David Angel says, imagine these are all globals, global, 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 and then at the bottom of the process, probably get rid of the menu at the top so you don't see any of these other things up here. And it's like directed workflow, Margaret, directed workflow, because you want them to begin and you want them to end with the button at the bottom which says save it, do it.
Yeah, and that'll probably go make a new record and put the information in.
They're going to hit that button, then the script will run and it will take all those in at the speed of light. It's like a bank robbery. Imagine the flat. What is it? This Marvel? Is it Flat? No, that's DC Comics. They got the Flash, right? The guy's super fast. Imagine he robs a bank. That's the way doing it with globals. It'd be like you wouldn't even know it happened, except suddenly all the money's gone. That's the idea. You want to be really fast.
Okay.
As opposed to the lazy bank robbery.
Lazy bank
robbery. And you take your time and you're having a coffee, right? It's like all in the movies. They're always stop watching it, right? Because they know how fast the cops get there. That's real. How long does it take the cops in a town to get to a bank robbery, right?
How long does it take it for a nasty message to pop up on your screen from your coworker because you've been sitting on the record for too long?
Correct.
Cool. Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, there's a whole conversation. Okay. I'm going to get to the next question, Ed, and then Jesse and Kathy, and I see all your stuff, so I will get there very shortly. Ed Burkle, when it saves, does it save every field in the table or just the ones in the layout where you made the changes?
Every field in the table, even if they're not on the layout, minus any containers. Containers are carved out special.
And then it won't touch related data unless you affected the related data, correct?
Through a relationship, correct, yeah.
Okay. Say, Jesse, does it send everything in case there's an auto enter calc? Question mark.
Okay, so if you do some data editing here, right, and there is the option in auto enter to auto enter a calculation, even if there's pre-existing data. There's a checkbox there, Margaret, whether you're aware of this or not, where it'll auto enter only if it's empty and it's never been auto entered before. But once data's in there, so it won't step on your toes, right? A toe stepping minimizer, right? Basically. But say Kathy enables toe stepping, right? So it runs a calc. So as soon as you do this, then FileMaker Pro will run the auto enters, then finish the validation. If you're using that validation there, please don't use the validations built in, but use the auto enter options. Feel free, use all those. It's going to apply lipstick on the pig and then shoot it off the server. So yeah, that's a really good question. It's going to do a little massaging on it, and then shoot to the server. If you're using the built-in validations in there, then it might stop it. It might throw a dialogue like this one. I hate the ones where you're doing a demo and then you don't put a date in here. You're just like, well, it may be today, right? And see this validation right here. This is just hideous, right? I hate that stuff. Oh, we're going to revert the field. First, you have to tell your users, what does revert mean? Oh, go backwards in time. Oh, and then you're done.
So there's an interesting conversation between kind of Kathy and Jesse. If a user editing a record doesn't commit the changes and leaves the computer, does that record stay locked forever? That's Kathy. And then Jesse has a follow-up comment. We have that issue with our solution. Can we boot?
All right. Would you like me to solve Kathy and Jesse's problem on one pass? Margaret already knows what I'm going to do. Margaret, you want to take a swing at this?
No.
I'll drive and you can do it? No?
No, I
Margaret knows what I'm going to do.
I know, but then I'll stumble through it and I'll be confusing by accident.
You'll be confusing by accident. All right. So I had this. Listen, here's the thing. I have built a lot of solutions, and then I started building a solution for this Big Valley Aviation, which is they're going to talk about this at DevCon or Engage or whatever at some point. Anyway, and what was interesting about it is that we learned lessons in FileMaker. So one of the things I went back to Rick Kalman and it was, he's overwhelmed with all these requests, right? So I have to explain to the CEO of Big Valley Aviation, he clicks in a field and it says, Juan Valdez, who's on the shop floor, is wrenching on a Jet Ranger, is editing the record. You're not allowed to do that. And he goes, he can't. And I go, what? He goes, what happened? He goes, well, he locked you out of the record. He goes, I'm his boss. He can't lock me out of a record. And I went, so instantly, it's like you can see the time stop for me. It's like the top watch start, and I realized it instantaneously. One, he's not right. Two, Claris has never fixed it in 30 years. Three, how the hell am I going to explain this to a guy that he's right and he's also wrong at the same time? And so I did what a really good FileMaker developer would do, is that you waffle and divert and pretend that you didn't hear the question, right? It's like a politician. It's like, what was that? Yeah, I'm running for office, and I love kitty cats and dogs, and I hate the evil people. What I did is there is a solution for this. We did a live stream on this. If Margaret wants to find the live stream on this. So this is Big Valley Aviation, okay? And this is probably got some confidential stuff that no one's allowed to see, but we're just going to show it to you anyway. So what we use is we use a, no, this is good. I wrote this. This is good. We're going to run through it. We use a Monkey Bread plugin, because what the Monkey Bread plugin does, and I've already got the code and I've got the sample. If Jesse and Kathy want to ask me about this, or just send us an email, send me an email, support@rcconsulting.com. Here's what happens. This is you can see what's going on. They're not fully using it because as the projects are supposed to close, they're supposed to close them out, and they're not closing them out, and I'm not sure why. They keep thinking, I think there's a little bit of paperwork they need to do, but this makes it look like they're really lazy and they don't try, because it's supposed to show you that you have, like, no rush means there's no rush. And it was going to be done in 5 days or 4 days or 3 days to be due. 166 days later, that's like 4 or 5 months. That helicopter's been gone from that hangar for a long time. I know, because I've been down there. Anyway, so they're in here working on it. So I'm going to go over work orders. So so this is the information here, blah, 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 blah. And so what happens is that someone's over here editing this, right? And they're making an edit, or they'll be over here. Here's the other part. I'm not editing anything in here, but I go to a related record and I start editing right here. And if I make an edit right here and I type S, now this record is locked along with the parent record. Both of them are locked together. So what happens with this solution is, is it running? Is it like, I'm just going to quit real quick here.
I think you have to restart it when you reinstall MBS.
Oh,
To answer your thing, Kathy, basically, as long as the FileMaker file stays open and you're in the record, it is locked.
Hey, Mark, can you go for a second? Just give me 1 second here.
So as long as you're sitting in it and if your computer theoretically managed to stay open until the end of the universe and you were inside the record and you didn't have access to a server to, like, kick people out, which you can technically do through server, then yes, it would stay open. It would be locked for forever and perpetuate. I can't speak English. Long time. Jesse, I dang. Yeah, okay. No, so Jesse, the way that we do it is it's forcibly saves the data. And the only minor irritation is that when you're scripting, it saves the entire database. Like I believe it's on a 3-minute timer. The big overview of this, which Richard is going to come back and explain, is that we use the Monkey Bread plugin, which is a really amazing plugin by Christian Schmitz. You will see him pop up. I think he told me the last time he's been on the show with us 44 times. But basically, we use the MBS plugin to force the entire database to commit, for lack of a better word, every 3 minutes. I think, is that on a 3-minute timer? So the only irritation that you'll run into with that, Jesse, is that if you haven't saved your scripts, you're going to get a pop-up. It's going to be like, yo, you should save your scripts. So
I'm going to type right here.
Editing a script.
Okay, I'm going to type right there, and then let's pretend I walked off. Now, it'll take it a minute, but you'll see what happens up here in the top. So what happens is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to click, and then I'm not going to touch the mouse. And what you'll do is after 3 minutes, and I'll answer any other question, but I'm not going to touch this. Because what it does, it determines that you've walked away, and it triggers a script. And that script checks to see if I'm on a layout, and then and if you're on a certain layout, Margaret, even though you're in a script workspace, it just auto saves. It saves it for you, and then it throws a little animated little graphic up here, say it's automatically saved for you. That way, the exposure of your boss, the person at the company who was agitated, the CEO person, didn't want to have the line workers. He's 50, 60 years old. 70 years old, he doesn't want to have the 25-year-olds locking him out of the system. They know far more about the computer than he does, but he's the boss, so he doesn't want them locking him out. So what I've done is I've limited my exposure time for him getting pissed off down to these 3-minute windows. Okay, because very rarely they do it. Most time they're wrenching away, fixing things on the aircraft. They're not really doing a lot in terms of, constantly doing data entry. So they do a little data entry, and me trying to explain to them to save it. That's why you see, I'm not going to touch the mouse. The big save button, I'm kind of pointing to encourage them to press that button. Okay, just to do it proactively. Then, what happens is that the script still fires after 3 minutes. Okay, It fires after 3 minutes, but it realizes that everything's saved and it doesn't do anything. Okay. Now, after that fires and 3 minutes is over, as soon as you start moving the mouse again, the little clock in the Monkey Bread plugin starts all over. So it's not firing every 3 minutes in perpetuity. In fact, Margaret, you want to, well, you'll see that show up here momentarily. Next question we have. This is a good one.
Is this from Jesse? Is this specific to MBS? Like,
yeah, and that's why I went to Claris and I made a video and explained this is really in the years 2023 at the time, and this really needs to be, it's on, all it is an on idle user script trigger.
Yeah, after this fires off, we could probably bring up the script real fast so you can see what it
They could see it real quick, but it's pretty basic. We have a live stream on. Mark, do you give them the link to the live stream on this?
Oh, I was busy talking because you were gone.
Okay, why don't you give me the next question, and then go find that link for everyone. So for Jesse and Kathy.
David is suggesting a way to do it internally inside of FileMaker. I think a best practice might be to open a new card window where the user writes to globals and then hits the button. The record is created, edited, and saved. That's a lot of extra work.
Yeah, the problem with this customer is that they have probably a $20,000 or $30,000, $40,000 budget, and they probably need $100,000 in coding. And if you have to code it that way, it's going to be $150,000 or $170,000. It's a lot more work to do it with globals, right? To be clear.
Yeah. Jesse, follow up. I'm having a hard time getting things approved that are subscriptions.
Oh, I just heard a talk. Did that just happen? Did I just see that happen? Everyone?
What?
Did you just? I think it just fired.
Did it just fire? Oh, I was not looking at the screen.
I wasn't looking at it, but I heard talk. Did you see a little thing up here? Go think, think, think up here, a little thing pop up. Everyone, did we see that?
Well, you're no longer in the field, so I think that you've been saved.
Okay, yeah. So what happened? What I do is I make a little ding dong sound, like a little whatever sound.
You aren't sharing your sound, so it didn't share.
Okay, but did they see the little thing flash on the screen? What happens is when it fires, it does this little thing up here. Oh, there. I was. Okay.
Okay.
So after 3 minutes, when I'm not going to do it again, but you're here, it all it actually does is it presses this button for you automatically. It's a script trigger. It knows what script that is. It presses that. So you get a pop and you get this little, and there was a separate live stream we talked about these little notifications, little cute, snuggly little notifications. You can change the colors to yellow, to red if there's a problem, blah, 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 right? Like if I go over here and I say delete, right? It's going to say, hey, it's like a yellow alert. It's like, I'm not going to delete that unless you hold the modifier key down. So whenever there's a delete or anything that's kind of like spicy, I make sure that they can hold down a certain option or control or alt or shift or something command key, then press it. Then I know that they've done two things at once. And Margaret's cat's known delete records. The cat can't delete things out of the database. It can't just inadvertently do that, right? Because it can't use its paw on one side of the keyboard and its mouse on the other side at the same time. You think that's a joke? It's not a joke. Or you have users who just inadvertently click or they put their coffee cup down. We have photos of them using this thing in the hangar.
Jesse also thinks the notifications are super cool.
Yeah, we have a notification video too. We did both those, Margaret, about a week or two apart. Go back and find those.
I'm trying to find them. So
let me go to the.
I'm going to finish reading the paragraph.
Keep going. I'm going to find the log because they're going to want to see the log.
I'm actually pushing for a Mac to develop on so I can use a script workspace, bells and whistles. Oh, Jesse is currently Windows development. That's always. We have a couple other Windows people in our stream. It's always a little rough, especially since most of the MBS functions are Mac specific, I think.
Although this one works on Windows. It works great on Windows.
Oh, this one works on Windows? Okay, I was like, is this?
Yeah, they're all Windows down there at the helicopter shop.
Right. Yeah, I forget.
So right here, I have a log. You guys can see this log. And so it says that when it installs it, so it's ready to go. Okay. It's enabled. And then down here, the save button. Let's see what it says down here to the right. Save button script work run was committed. And that's where I ran it manually. But yeah, you'll see it fire off. What you'll hear a little pop, and then out of the blue. In fact, the way the system works is people do edits in here. I start to see edits and things in here. Like, let's go back and spy on the employee. Okay, here's a shop floor. Here's Windows. They were doing a bunch of edits, doing a bunch of edits, doing a bunch of edits, and then so what it does is 3 minutes later, although this is, I think, the server. That's weird. I'm not clear on the clock there. Some of these times are specific to the host time and then the local user time. Like, you can actually set a get time to get the server's time, but the server is in a different time zone or something. But basically what happens is that they're working on it here, and I guarantee these are attached. They did a bunch of edits, did a bunch of edits, and then nothing happens. And down here it goes ding, saved it, and then all of that, they put an authorization in there, like an inspector authorization. So everyone knows about the story with the Boeing. The door blew off the Boeing plane, right? The little plug, right? The Boeing mechanics put the door in. They painted it. They did a bunch of stuff. They didn't really bolt it with Powell nuts or Loctite or whatever they're supposed to use. And someone signed off in a system like this with a signature and authorization. Someone falsified the data. Someone's a deep, okay? Because of all that, I know about how that works. It works identically with airlines. It does with any aviation aircraft in the United States. So there's an authorization. So I also assume that the person walked away, we saved it, and it deauthorized it. So if someone comes in and says, this door was screwed in properly, and they're like some junior mechanic, no, junior mechanic can't do that. You have to have a technician with an inspection authority. They have to put their little 3-digit code in, and then it blesses them while they're sitting there. It doesn't bother them anymore. Until they walk away for 3 minutes, and then deauthor. It's like a medical record system at a hospital, but the way doctors work these days is that they have a little badge. They come up with a little card, and they on the little terminal thing. When they walk away, they pull it off, so no one can use the computer after they walk away. I can't train these people to do that. What we do is we assume that within 3 minutes, someone nefariously could run up behind them and try to authorize something. That doesn't happen. But after 3 minutes, it assumes that they're deblessed. You could change that. 3 minutes was arbitrary. It's a number of seconds, right? I arbitrarily picked 180 seconds. Make sense?
Yes. Does this need to be installed on the server to work, or is it
No.
just?
No, it runs on the client, and there's a little script in here. Christian Schmidt showed us how to auto install. You saw it come in here. I haven't used it on this computer, and it said, hey, might want to install this. And every time the customer sees it, I tell them yes. And then I sometimes put updates. It says, hey, there's an updated version. Monkey Bread's now version 14. Monkey Bread is like $5 per user per year to use it. It's stupid cheap.
Any other questions about saving? We did kind of I wouldn't say we meandered. There's a lot.
We did, but there's a lot of good stuff. Are you folks, I mean, David Angel, you've been around a lot. Is this of any value to you? Right? David, Larry, Ed, Labo, poor guy lost his dog.
David, yes. Ken says yes. Jesse is like, I hijacked the discussion. Sorry. No.
Yeah, but Jesse's new, and this is all new for you, and we're covering stuff you haven't seen before. So, Margaret, did you post those links to the other?
I did. I finally found them. It was 8 months ago, so it's actually been much longer than we thought.
Okay, so Jesse, go back and watch those recordings. It's recorded live streams, so it's live TV that was recorded. But we did a really good job with that. We go into it. If you have additional questions, suggestions.
I believe that the transient notifications has actually a sample file attached. So if you just want to like steal that.
Yeah, we call transient notifications. They're like if you go to an ATM, let's just like basic concept, okay? Go to an ATM, put your money in. I'm going to engage, and I've got to buy who knows what in Austin. I need $400, and then so you say $400, and then a little dialogue comes up, processing your order, getting your money, stand by. Right? It doesn't say processing your order. Now you have to click OK. Oh. Stand by. Oh, you entered the wrong. No. Okay. It's notifications to you that don't require action, right? You see them everywhere. When you do something on Amazon and you're waiting for Amazon doing it, the little thing pops up. It says suspenseful music is playing. Some programmer had, like Jacob Taylor, had a sense of humor, and so when it's waiting and you're waiting, it doesn't play music. It says suspenseful music is playing in your head. and it's a transient notification. Okay. It's essential in the world of software.
Jesse, just talked to coworkers today about how they ignore dialogues every time they come up and they just click it to get away.
Yeah. Or they don't read it, right? It's even in my book. I had a really funny dialogue in the book. It's like fire torpedoes, booger snatch, 55 Friday, and everyone hits okay, right? So the transient notifications kind of fly on, and then they fly off. We color code them green. You can pick any colors, but the standard ones are green, yellow or orange, and red. Red is probably bad. You can change the icon, change the words in there, flies on, it's gone. Wonderful.
They requested I add another dialogue box, and I said no because I never read them anyway. Upside down smiley face.
Okay. Yeah, so I really like these conversations. I love helping you, Jesse and Kathy and everyone.
Yeah, Kathy said this is a very exciting session. Ed said this is good stuff. Larry said this is good stuff. Stu said it was good stuff.
Oh, Stu, that's right. Yeah, Marsoc Stu.
Okay, so this was a good one. So is there anything?
Yeah, so what's tomorrow? Can you remind me what tomorrow is?
Tomorrow's FM Forums.
Tomorrow's a Wild West. Okay, tomorrow. If you thought today was a Wild West, I had bank robberies, guns, hostages. It was a very exciting one. Tomorrow is going to be worse because it's wild questions, and we're all going to jump in and try to answer questions on FM Forums, right? Margaret's going to read questions, and we're going to have answers, and we'll discuss it. A lot of what I do, and I'll end with this, I know we're late, we've already shot a lot of this content, like on notification of this issue. I'm happy to kind of do a high-level coverage, but we send you a link so you can get into the weeds and get the details, right? There's only so much we can do in an hour, right?
Yes, cool. Thank you everyone for coming. It's good to see you. For people who are at Engage, you should definitely go bother Richard. I will conveniently not be there.
Margaret's still going to be running the broadcast from California, but she will not be there. But we want to take her in the future. She is quite talented. I mean that seriously, and it's you can see it growing on them. So yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming. You're all lovely.
Too much spice.
See you guys. Bye.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!